This is the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, session number 147. Derek Chapman on highlighting hypnotic change.
Welcome to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast with Jason Linett, your professional resource for hypnosis training and outstanding business success. Here's your host, Jason Linett.
Welcome back. It's Jason Linett here with a content-packed conversation with Derek Chapman. Derek is from the Grimsby area of the United Kingdom, and I first met Derek, as the way things go, in 2018, first interacting on Facebook. He was one of the attendees at the course that I did with Sean Michael Andrews out in Vegas in March 2017. And just from the first interaction, seeing that Derek, as I like to say, is a true hypnotic worker, someone who you're going to hear his origin story in this conversation, someone who utilized the process for his own change, the hypnobug bit, and then jumped in with both feet, the entire body, into an incredible career of helping others. And you're going to hear the passion in the dialogue here exactly as to how more than half of the clients coming into his business these days are coming in directly by way of referral. And let me give you some points that I want you to be listening for in this conversation, that we can talk about our pre-talk in terms of how to dispel the myths and misconceptions of hypnosis, or rewind back to episode number 1 of this podcast series where I talked about my all-positive pre-talk, which is that we can also use our pre-talk to condition the client for a more successful experience. Though understand we can apply this pre-talk principle on top of even this change strategies we're going to use inside of our client sessions. So Derek, in the shape of talking of timeline therapy, gives the beautiful pre-talk metaphor of something like Google Maps, or even I'd imagine more so Google Earth, that you're able to zoom in and zoom out and change that perspective rapidly. And just that little bit of a nuance suddenly allows the process to become much more streamlined, much more effective. The title of this conversation, we decided to call it Highlighting Hypnotic Change, as we jump in with full focus towards this idea of testing your work, getting that feedback, and specifically his language around, you'll notice the change grows even stronger as other people comment upon the change. That's a paraphrase. He said it in an even more beautiful way of building these little seeds along the way where the client is going to be noticing their change process. And I'll give a quick plug here, of course, for his information as well as his product, the Anxiety Wheel. Head over to DC Mind Coach, as in Derek Chapman, mindcoach.com, dcmindcoach.com. You'll see more about Derek and his services, as well as his Anxiety Wheel program as well. I'd also encourage you to head over to hypnoticworkers.com. This is my entire digital all-access pass to my hypnotherapy training library, talking about strategies for change, talking about strategies for enhancing the hypnotic experience, as well as giving you full, unedited client sessions from start to finish. We don't need any more scripts as hypnotists. Instead, what we need are transcripts, and that's why nearly every single word of Hypnotic Workers, not just the client session demonstrations, but even the teaching mechanisms as well, to actually see the specific language. It's not about the magic words, though kind of going back to this conversation you're about to hear with Derek, sometimes having just those right magic words at the right moment, having the right metaphor at the right time, that's what sets this up for outstanding success. So with that, let's jump directly into this phenomenal conversation. Derek, thank you so much for joining me on this program. This is session number 147, Derek Chapman on highlighting hypnotic change.
I think I've always been interested in, since about 1985, I was studying self-help books. I never came across hypnotherapy as such till about another year. I was reading Bandler books and Tony Robbins courses and stuff like that. Then I came across an advert. It was to lose weight. So I thought, I'm putting on some pounds here. All this stuff really works. My mind was open to stuff because I've already read all these self-help books and stuff. Then I saw a hypnotherapist called Susan Rosala in London, who's still practicing to this day. And it worked really well for me. And I thought, this is amazing. So that was in the back of my subconscious mind. And 30 years later, basically, I was in a well, I've done lots of things. I've been in the forces and in marketing for the last 15 years, working full time. And I fell into it like a lot of hypnotherapists I've heard your podcast say, that it just sort of happened sort of thing. It's some sort of, I don't know, mystical, magical calling or whatever. And I went away for this weekend. It was called Be Your Potential by Joseph Clough. And I was selected from the audience. They said, does anyone here feel that they don't feel good enough? And I thought, ping, something inside me sort of really sort of resonated with that. Does anyone feel they're not good enough? Does anyone feel they want more confidence? I thought, well, that's why I'm here. And they said, does anyone want an undeniable process to let all that garbage go? And I thought, yeah, I'm up for this. And I put my hand in the air and I thought, oh my God, I put my hand in the air now. And there's like 60 or 70 people in the audience. Now what do I do? Because I was quite unconfident. And I use that story for my clients as well. Then I went to the stage because they selected me from the audience. Then I thought that was my biggest nightmare now, because I'm facing like 120 of these eyeballs that are staring at me. And Joseph Clough said, just close your eyes and relax. And I always remember closing my eyes and saying, it's easy for you to say. And as I closed my eyes, a bead of perspiration was on my forehead. My hands were shaking. Basically, a heated parts integration on me. And I immediately changed. It was like a night and day sort of thing. From the person I used to be, it was crazy. I mean, I felt really good in myself. All those parts were aligned, if you like. And I had such a buy-in. It was amazing. I mean, the people after that course came up to me. 17 people, I counted them in a row, sort of said, well, you look so much more confident now, or you look so much more approachable. I thought, if somebody else says that, I'm going to hit him, because it was almost like an insult sort of thing. It was getting out of hand. So anyway, I went back to my job because I was still full-time, and I thought, yeah, I can change things now. So I tested it out. So I like to test things out. So I thought, this is quite good. So I thought, let's see if we can do this. So I booked myself on 3 seminars, because normally I'd be panicking about seminars, and I didn't have any sweaty hands. They were fine. And then I booked myself on another one, and everything was going great. Then I asked my boss and said, by the way, I think it's about time I had a pay rise. And he sort of backed away in the chair and said, how much do you want? And it was crazy. And I thought, this is really good. But I mean, I was in some place, there was no challenge there, you know. So that same year, I booked on Joseph Clough and Paul Clough's course to do NLP and hypnotherapy. It was like I think a 10 or 11 day course. Took time out on holiday. I didn't tell anybody I was doing this at work. And I came back, and I'm one of those people who just does it. I don't question it. I think if you question it too much, can I do this and that sort of stuff? You can hesitate too much and never actually get yourself off the ground. But I just did it. And I became a natural, because even though today a lot of people on that course haven't actually made a career of it, I think I just really enjoyed it, and I'm just myself. What sets me apart, I think a lot of people say, is because I'm down to earth. I tell it like it is. I don't put no airs and graces on. I work from home, and it's not a job. I think if I had to go to an office, it would seem like a job. Excuse the old thing. People are trying to contact me. I don't know how to turn that off. But and now, after 3 years of doing it part time, I thought, because even part time, Jason, I was seeing like 5 clients on an evening, Monday to Friday. Then the weekend I'd see like 10. It was going crazy. So I was seeing like 20 clients a week part time and working a full time job. And I'd done that for like 3 years. Then I thought, well. Also, I was training, because I'm a bit of a hypno junkie as well. You get those people. I was actually going to find a cure for that. I sort of joke in Facebook groups. I've found a cure to conquer people of their hypno obsession, because you can get really obsessed in this. I think when people, it becomes so obsessive, doesn't it? It's crazy. I mean, your partners really suffer. I think, oh God, here he goes about hypnosis again. That's all I get,
Yeah.
It's like it's a vocation. It's not like a job. I wish. And this year I'm going to cut down on the courses, because I worked out I spend about £30,000 a year on my training, and that's like about. So I worked out. I think Felix Economist, he was on there. He did 150, I think. So I'm slowly going to cut back on that and have a sort of more of a work-life balance.
I'm just hearing in the back of this tone, it's like, I can stop if I want to. It's not a problem.
Yeah. But it's even when I go on holiday, it's like I carry on doing the same thing. It just, I came on holiday I was in Bangkok a few months ago, and the waitress said, "What do you do for a living?" "Oh, I'm a hypnotherapist." "Oh, I suffer deeply with anxiety." And I thought, well, quick process, and she's fixed as such. And then I do my calibration, because I always calibrate. I'm there for like 10 days, I think it was. "How are you doing today?" "Oh, I'm good, thanks, great, yeah." And I introduced her to my anxiety wheel course, which I got online now. And she did that, and she did me a glowing result. So I always use, that's how I get known, because, you give something away, you get something back. Getting back to the story. So after 3 years full-time, I decided to go, full-time working in my marketing job, I decided to go full-time as a hypnotherapist. And I've done that now for, when was it? Last year would have been, I think, 2017. Yeah, 2017. So I've been doing it full-time since then. And my accountant, 2016. And my accountant, after I think it was about 8 months, said, "I think you need to go limited," which is like a public limited company over, I don't know what it is in America. Mm-hmm. What's it over there? Something like that.
Yeah, often the times the difference between, the simplest one is the difference between being taxed as a sole proprietor versus now, which an LLC is often taxed the same way, but I'm technically now an LLC, which is taxed as what's called an S Corp, where basically you're an employee of your own business.
That's right, yeah. So that was only after about 8 months. He advised me to do that, because I was making so much, making so much money.
Which, side note, neither of us are professional accountants or lawyers. Chat with yours. But again,
exactly.
Oh my God, it's such a tax savings. But anyway.
Well, it is, yeah. So things are going really well. Like I say, I've done, it is an obsession. I've been trained by even yourself there. I mean, Joseph Clough, a few names of people I trained with was Joseph Clough, Barry Thane, Bob Burns, hat off to him. He was the first guy that said to me, "You should charge for those consultations." He said 20 quid, and I now charge £30 for a consultation. Mm-hmm. James Tripp, Melissa Tears, Kevin Lay. In fact, I use a lot of Kevin Lay's work, SciTap.
Yes.
Yeah. Jürgen Rasmussen, the hand drop. I've still got a fear of that if you're listening, Jürgen. Sheila Granger. Carl Smith, who's actually a mentor of mine as well. Stephanie Conkle, I use her protocol. Basically just talk to the client's unconscious mind. Isn't that a thing? Martin Stig Peterson, Ines Simpson, and of course Jason, Shawn Michael Andrews. And this weekend I'm doing another course. It's Steve Blake, Old Pain to Go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which has proven very popular.
And Kevin and I are scheduled to record later this week, and Stephen and I need to schedule. So keeping it all in-house as it is. Let me ask you this, though, because there's a story that I forget if I've ever told this here, and I think I may have brought it up on, there's a program I did a while ago all about how to learn hypnosis, how to be a good hypnosis student, which the brief version of the story is that I had hosted somebody for a training in my local office. And like 20 people in the room, 18 are raving fans. This was incredible. This was life-changing. And 2 were going, I didn't learn anything. And it was really me being able to identify, okay, the student brings a lot of responsibility to the course. That, the more refined you are, you're someone who is working actively. You're someone who is constantly at this and improving what you do. And it's from this perspective, we don't need the entire course to be transformative. Yes, it's great when it is. We often just need like that 1 or 2 little tweaks that's going to make every bit of a difference inside of it. So you mentioned back to that original course where now you're the, let's call it out, you're the star student who's actually out there and doing this stuff. What would you say it is within you, if you can unpack it, that creates that thirst for knowledge, that creates that passion to learn more, but more importantly, creates that drive to actually put this stuff to use?
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear is the greatest motivator to learn more. It's like you can do these courses and great, got it all under belt. And it's the failure aspect. When it goes wrong, oh my God, that'll motivate you to go to another course and another course, and another course. And that's really motivated me, because I've had so many failures. It's unreal. In fact, today's Facebook post was something I got from Kevin Lay's. Success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose.
Yes.
And that really resonates with me, because you can get that thing, you go, oh yeah, things going great. But suddenly you get the client from hell. And, I've, like you were saying there a minute ago, what makes the training you've done sort of work well? I think when you adapt it to your own way of being, and when you do that you can just distill things from things, like you do. I study a lot of hypnotherapists. You should go and see Jason there. He's distilled hypnotherapy into a little bottle, and there's the essence, But you can do the same thing yourself and find those bits that really resonate with yourself. But also when like when I do timeline therapy, for instance, before I do that, if I tell 2 stories before that process, suddenly they get a fantastic result. If I show the clients how to imagine the timeline and imagine they're going to Google Maps and they can zoom out of it, suddenly they can actually visualize in their own imagination. Little tweaks,
Right.
They get good results. And because everyone can relate to going on Google Maps and zooming out. In fact, I told that to one of the James Trippin. He said, "I'm going to take that because you can relate to it,
Yeah.
And that was one of my biggest things. Like, oh my God, some like my hero, like James Tripp, said he's going to take that. It was like I thought, oh, that's cool. But I mean, there's loads of little things I do within sessions as well. Even for me, the consultation is the biggest thing because sometimes, I don't know, a lot of hypnotherapists out there, but I get change in the consultation. You think,
Yes.
oh God, that's them fixed. But it's because I think I'm so thorough. I do spend a lot of time on the consultation, not so much the client talking about their problem, but even like I got the one from you when you say, given list 7 benefits of making the change, and they just write these things out and they tell you exactly what they don't want to have happen. Mm-hmm. Then I say, okay, scrub that out now. Now, what is it you really like to have happen, as opposed to all that negative stuff? And throughout the whole consultation itself, it's almost like showing the client how they're doing this stuff. The language they use, can't, hope, and try. I say to them, remove that negative language because it's almost like swear words, or the other swear word that people tend to use is panic and attack, and put them together and my hands get clammy. Just imagine those 2 words, because people give their own suggestions, And also I do things like I actually do hypnosis on myself as well, which isn't that bizarre?
I know, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone does, or do they? Like a lot of I haven't been hypnotized and that sort of, but I use my own stuff on me. So I've got a product out coming soon. This is not an advertising spiel, but there's like things that possibly your listeners may want. It's in the pipeline. It's like, have you ever had the client from hell? Listen to that one. Mm-hmm. Had the client from hell, can't seem to let it go. Like with this recording, they can let go of the person that pushes the buttons. Perhaps maybe they made you feel devalued, So you've got to go back on that course again. And the aim of the recording is to help them feel empowered again. I've also got a confidence booster, prior to seeing clients, you can feel upbeat, get them motivated,
I love that. No, it's where, kind of unpacking some of the themes you brought up so far. It's that there's too often, I think, people in our community who would say things because that's what everyone else says, such as I go to these conventions to learn. And yet to actually be the one there taking the classes and actually doing it, as opposed to the just the more social side of often attending something. And, even back to the keynote that I gave at HypnoThoughts in 2017, there was one theme that you just hit upon, which is there are moments where you absolutely need to read your criticism, moments where you need to actually take that feedback. But then there's also moments you've got to go back and just reread those testimonials to go, yeah, okay, yeah, things are going well. This is what is working. And, I'd give you the sort of key phrase that I use for that theme, which is that you should always have a constant encouraging dissatisfaction with your success. Which is that here's this great moment. Here's this great experience. Wow, this went extremely well. I probably could have done it better this way. I probably could have streamlined this section in that way. I probably could have arrived there a little bit sooner, or even better, as I like to use the one of, I probably could have set that goal a little bit higher. Yeah. So it's to take that moment and yes, pat yourself on the back that yes, I'm doing all right. This is going well. Yet to see that there is a place for improvement. There is a place to refine it a little bit better. And I love that simple nuance of, oh yeah, if I just run them through this quick visualization before timeline, it just streamlines the entire process. There's lots of processes I do. I do the same sort of thing as well to make it work better. Because I know if I don't do that, somehow it won't work. Like tell me the story of what I do for timeline, the Oprah Winfrey story. Have you heard of that one? No.
Okay, so I tell a story about Oprah Winfrey. It's a true story. And so the client's got buy-in because I said the word true. And I say that Oprah Winfrey put a lot of weight on. When she was putting loads of weight on, she was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I embellish it. That's what I got from Sheila Granger, if you're listening, because you can tell a few white lies if it gets the result. It's okay. So I embellish to get where you want to go. I embellish it slightly. So she's putting all this weight on because her husband had an affair with her best friend, and she sort of said, "Talk to the hand. I'm never going to forgive you." And she kept eating Krispy Kreme donuts at 10 o'clock at night till 2 o'clock in the morning. She just couldn't sleep, and she kept on blaming her friend. And I do use the odd bit of language that's down to earth. I won't do it on here, but because people respect, I think people like that because you're just a normal human being. They go, "Oh, great, you swear," and they got permission to swear. I think you mentioned it somewhere in one of yours somewhere.
Yeah, mine is that as soon as they use it, which is usually pretty quickly, I go, "Oh, great, now I get to use those words too."
But sometimes I use it anyway, which is like, a lot of people come to see me and I say they got a face like a slap bum, and they usually laugh because I do show people pictures before and after they've changed. So when I first did this, I was like really the hypno geek who used to take pictures. I will come back to that story in a minute about Oprah Winfrey. It's almost like a nested loop, isn't it, or whatever you call it? And it's like, but I mean, I show clients how they change. So in other words, it's almost like a setup. I got a little bit of that from Ines Simpson when she shows the clients how they do that stuff before the finger idiomotor responses, and I thought I can use that. So what I did was, it's probably prior to her, but I mean, I did take pictures of clients before. So there's a guy who had a real face like a slap bottom, and afterwards it was like a miracle. I said, "Listen, that photo is not photoshopped. He's not using Botox. He looks like a lot younger, and he's free of all this stuff." And I said he had issues there, and I don't obviously go into them. I get permission from the client to use the photo, and they're quite willing to have that happen. But there's a guy there. He's 49 years old. And he had issues since he was 9 years old, and they've all gone. And it's not like putting a plaster on the problem, it's gone. You can just tell by his face, and I keep in contact with my clients as well. So they got a huge buy-in. It's almost like that, I mean, I heard from somebody else you shouldn't convince the client and stuff like that, but I am, and I get a buy-in from it, And then back to the Oprah Winfrey story, which helps with timeline therapy, is when she's eating all this Krispy Kreme donuts and she's getting bigger and bigger. Now she's waddling down Rodeo Drive, and her best friend is, and in her mind it's peeing down with rain, but as you know, in Southern California or wherever it is, it never rains. So she's doing her own hypnosis anyway, which I always say to clients who come and see me. Like I'm sure you mentioned that as well in your ones, don't you? You're doing hypnosis, I'll show you how to do it better.
Right.
Yeah. And so I do the same thing on that. And they go, "Really?" And I'm so strong-willed. Just, yeah, you can use that strong will to help you as well. So anyway, her friend pops out in the across the road, and she's got a good vantage point from where she stood. She can see her friend coming out of that diamond shop, Tiffany's. And she's slim, she's blonde-haired, she's got a good figure. And Oprah Winfrey's sort of saying fake hair, fake boobs, fake personality, woman scorn sort of scenario. And you can see the clients that I get the response from them. As I'm going on the story, you can see they're really getting involved in it, especially women, because they can relate to it. And then this guy comes out from the store and proposes and he's on bended knee sort of thing, and he's got this rock, and the rock's shining in the sun, this big diamond, and he's wants to marry this woman. And basically, she can see this woman, she's like really happy. She's gleeful, she's over the moon, she's in love. But Oprah Winfrey's really gnarled and really sort of quite peed off. And she's looking at this woman, and I think she caught a reflection of herself in the shop store across the way, even though she sort of negated it from her mind, even though she must have passed other shops. But people sometimes do that, like women get bigger clothes when they don't want to face the fact they've got big. And she did that with how she projected herself as well. She didn't really sort of stare at herself in the mirrors. And it was that first time she glanced at that woman. And the mind is this thing. It's like, when I say to clients as well, the brain doesn't cope on two things at once. And she had three things going on. One, she could see the woman was gleefully happy. She can see how big she suddenly got. And three, she can see like, oh my God, the only person it's affecting is me, because she's really happy and I've got really big. And I say it's similar to the timeline. You've got all this stuff going on in your life, and you can choose to let go if you want, because the only person it was affecting was her. She was the one who was getting fat and having a miserable life. And I said it's the same thing you can do as well. And it's almost like a suggestion to their unconscious mind they can let go of that stuff. It's not a choice. It's not a destination. It's a choice you can make. And suddenly they just have those little micro movements. those ones you see a client and you sort of look at the whole body type thing as you do peripheral vision on them. You'll see something move. It'll be like a hand or a finger or something, and you can say, "Oh, they've taken that one in."
Yeah.
And I think when you get the more people you see, it's almost like you just know what to use. Like even on parts integrations. You know that part. I was listening to your podcast. It was your last one about the what process to use type thing, and the client will tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah.
One part of me doesn't sort of, well, you know, you're going to go with that exactly. But with my parts integration ones, then if it's one of those ones where they say, well, I just don't feel, you know, one part of me is this and one part. If it's an unconfident one, well, I'm going to go into my spiel about that same thing I did earlier about going to that. I didn't used to be confident myself thing, you know. So you're getting great rapport with your client because you're basically talking their own language, and they just the faces. They're like it's like I'm really sort of selling but not selling, which I think I mentioned in that email. That's how that course came about, you know.
What you're doing there is outstanding. That too many people would look at, I'm just going to talk to my client and gather the information, so now I can do the hypnosis. Which the entire experience is that hypnotic intervention, and one of the strategies that you're using that I do too is that you're bouncing techniques off of them. And I love even down to the micromusculars to see that, okay, yes, something's being picked up here, something's a fit. And I'm sure along the way, the negative is also, it's a positive result, but there's even the moment where you're bouncing something off of somebody and you're seeing it's not a hit. And that's telling you, I don't need to go in that direction.
And I know, even from the most important thing for me is the consultation, because you know how it's going to go. In fact, sometimes the email, the text message, you'll know if they're going to be a great client or not, you know, or the one that this woman said to me on Friday night, can you cure me then? I said, I'm not Jesus of Nazareth, you know, but I can show you techniques so you can, one, help yourself control that anxiety. How would that be? I thought you were going to cure me. Well, you can see where her expectations are going to go, you know. I said, well, you got the wrong person here, you know. And I was actually going to I was going to say, I don't think we can actually work together. And her face, it was like, when you say no, I think a lot of people are too, I need this client. No, I told her, sorry, I can't work with you. And she changed. I said, listen, the first thing they taught me in hypno school was there can only be one hypnotherapist in the room. And I think you're trying to control too much. And I say, you call me a control freak? I said, well, yeah. How do you feel about that? She goes, well, I suppose I am quite controlling. Yeah. I said, do you want me to help you? Yes. Okay, we can got a deal then. If you can, you know, take the stuff as suggestions I make to you, you can possibly get from where you want to go, but you're going to have to allow me to do this, you know. Like I think Bob Burns said this thing about, you know, hypnosis is a two-way thing. It's almost like Strictly Come Dancing. If you've got a lousy dancer, you know, there's no way you can waltz. But when you allow it to happen and don't try and take the lead, but just 50-50 share, you know, it's you put the onus back on them as well. Don't wave the magic wand.
Yeah, I found there's a balance to that, though. And I tell you a quick story, which this goes a little in another direction of how I normally would work, but it's where, again, whatever you're reading off of the client is giving you the cue as to what's a fit that, without hyping it. I mean, it's the first podcast session in the series, the all positive pre-talk, the way that I do it. Yeah. It just simply lays out, here's what's going to happen. Here's what you're going to experience. And I could reference, this is a couple of months ago. There's a woman who's in the office, and the goal is to get rid of her sort of obsession around eating sugary food. She's adding processed sugar to everything. And I'm even seeing that the pre-talk isn't landing. And as simple and as straightforward as that pre-talk strategy is, it's just not being absorbed. And something about it is making me realize, okay, this is that client. And I say this never as a negative. This is that client who has an expectation that I am the hypnotist and I'm going to cure, I'm going to make things happen. And there's some level of that expectation. And I sidebar the pre-talk just to look at her and say, and this is perhaps can be credited, I've used this line before, but I'm now using it even more, thanks to people like Stephen Blank, thanks to people like Anthony and Freddie Jacquin. And I just look and go, okay, so you're ready for me to take away that sugar addiction? And she goes, yes. Okay, good. Close your eyes. So to see them where they are, to use a little bit of that expectation, but of course not to let that be the entire process, because my sloppy version of the dancing metaphor is that this is a dance and both of us are leading.
Yeah. I had a guy actually a couple of weeks ago who was an old chap who had hypnosis for smoking. And he said, well, I went to this hypnotherapist guy and he did it in one session. I said, well, I do it in 3. He said, okay. I said, what did he tell you to do? He just told me not to smoke. And I thought, well, there we go. That's it. He wants some an authoritative way of doing it. So he came for drinking, and my normal 3-part drinking protocol went out the window. And I said, okay, And in a relaxed state, you will not drink. And he was going for it big style. You could see his hands were clenching and all this lot. And he was doing high fives. It was nuts. He was loving it. I said, well, how'd you get on next week? And I checked and he said, haven't touched a drop since. And so I gave him what he needed,
Yeah.
Otherwise it'd be the 3-step process or whatever. He's over the moon. And I said, look, we'll do a 2-step one for you. First one, and we'll do a follow-up as well, because I want to know it's all gone. And he's still cool. He's still not drinking.
Yeah, I love it.
So I gave him what he needed. Yeah.
So having known you for a while, knowing that anxiety is one of those things that you do some of the best work with, what is it that if it's the client coming in, let's kind of run through what I like to call the user experience, that a client is coming into your space, or even back to the initial consult, what are some of those key components that you find to be vital in working with somebody and releasing anxiety?
Basically to show them how they're doing it. If they can see how they're doing it, because people are in a hypnotic trance, they really are. I mean, a girl came on Friday night, she goes, you never get what? I mean, everything is different. I don't do anything specifically the same, but it is down to one thing. There are techniques I use in a consultation, which are all pretty much the same, but I won't use all of them. But for her, she said, oh, my house is haunted. I said, okay, so your house is haunted. And I want you to relax your arms while you're doing this. It's the same thing, the A, B, and C, I call it. And there's a product out. I'm getting as bad as you, Jason. There's a product out soon. No, I'm and it's called the Anxiety Wheel, which I show people. It's on Facebook at the moment. And basically, if you relax your arms, if anyone relaxes their arms, and just imagine they can relax their legs as well. I say it's not hypnosis. You're doing that already. And just do this breathing. So you breathe in for 7, hold for 7, and out through your mouth or nose for 11, very slowly. And you're surprised if people do, no, that's what you're doing to do anxiety. We can do the complete opposite, So when you imagine something bad's going to happen, you're going to tense your body, you're going to do some lousy breathing, and you're going to imagine the worst stuff that ever happened. And the great thing about people with anxiety, they've got the best imaginations in the world, because you've already imagined the worst things that's going to happen. Yeah. So for her specifically, it's like I said, okay, so imagine you're in that home, and I'll give you an analogy. I think you do this a lot, don't you? So my analogy was this. Imagine there's a woman who lived in a little log cabin, and that log cabin was miles away from anywhere. And she'd never seen Friday the 13th. She'd never seen The Exorcist or any of those horror movies. And she slept soundly. But then suddenly she saw the movie The Shining, or then she saw The Exorcist, and she saw Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever. And then she's at home alone on that log cabin, and she hears on the radio there's a mad axeman who's about 200 miles away from where the thing is. Do you think she'd get a good night's sleep? And she, oh, no, I don't think you would. And that's what you're doing. I said, in your situation, it's like the body goes in this sort of cat-type scenario. It goes on high alert, and you'll notice any slight thing in the room. I said, as you're doing your stuff now, just notice how you can notice it's going slightly cold on your right-hand side there, because it's getting quite chilly in this room now. Oh, yeah, it is. I said, well, it's not, but you believed it was. And she laughed, because that's the power of the mind. You can give yourself a suggestion. So what are you suggesting yourself about all those things in your house too? Because she said that where she lived, there was pictures falling off the thing and all this lot. I thought pictures falling off the wall. She said, yeah. Did you hold them in place or something? Yeah, I put a bit of blue tack on. This was the story she said, and suddenly they fell off. And I said, have you noticed if you go to some place and you tense your body, you're like a cat on a hot tin roof, as if you're expecting something to happen. That's what you're doing. I'm not sure. I'm not saying the house isn't haunted or not, but when you go to your mum's and you feel quite relaxed there, there's still bricks and mortar as well. It's still a house. It's your meaning you're making on that house. Oh, I see. She's I'm getting people out their own way, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So that was her specific. But having said that, though, she's booked in to see me. But there was other clients a young girl this week who came with her mum, and really quite those analytical types. But she didn't. I saw her mum for a consultation, and yeah, that was it. One consultation, she got the job, and she said, I don't need to see you. I got the job. Got rid of that confidence thing. And she brought a daughter on Friday night, and same thing happened. Like it's normally like father and daughter, but I suppose to mother and daughter. I noticed that one. Have you noticed that?
I love that aspect, though, of showing the client how well they can do it on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, again, if you can bring it up, you can bring it down, being a very powerful theme to bring into the process.
Yeah, I use that one you do, actually, with that what was it? The control, not the control room, the ice on the hand.
Yeah.
What do you call?
It's a glove anesthesia moment that I just nickname as playing with feelings, but
Yeah.
it's that moment of, again, and the theme that I'd share with this is that you've heard me say this before. There's again, negative language used positively. Only ever go into battle when you're fully armed. That I'm going to look to have that resource state, but there's going to be a moment where I brought up whatever the resource state ought to be, whether it's confidence, whether it's a kinesthetic numbing sensation, and then bring up that anxiety, bring up that fear, bring up that craving, bring up whatever the negative sensation would be. And then immediately there's just this collapsing of anchors moment of, and now bring that feeling in. What do you notice now? Just to immediately take it down.
Yeah. I use that a lot. I use that with a guy who did twitches, actually. And I brought it up. He came here for exam nerves, and it was third session. I said, by the way, do you want to get rid of that twitch? And this is me being quite out there, you know, like I know what I'm talking about. And I thought, I think I'll give that a go. So he was quite a good subject throughout all the other stuff, and he was getting great grades at school, apparently. So I've heard that, or college. And then he came back for the third session, and do you want to get rid of that twitch? I mean, this guy had a hideous twitch. It was almost like Tourette's. He'd lean forward, he'd twist his body and stuff like that. He was 23 years old. And you can see the pain he'd gone through, I believe, because the girlfriends would probably laugh at him and sort of reinforce the fact, because it was really that bad. And I use that technique you just mentioned there. And I said to him, try to get the twitch back now. Bring the twitch back now. And he did. And I thought, God, it's working. And I said, bring it back again. So he did. Then I said, bring it back again. And he did another time. And I thought, okay, great. Now you brought that twitch back. You can take control of it. Mm-hmm. And I could see his eyes doing this funny thing, you know, underneath. So something's happening. And I said, and now just use that ice and just nuke it away. He did it. Did it I wanted to get it in there a few times, you know, over and over, mental rehearsing it, you know. And he's fine now. In fact, I saw him today for a topper because he was buying into some things about exams again, but he hasn't got the twitch anymore, which is really crazy. And that's like about 2 years ago. So it works.
There's an aspect that you're bringing up there that you mentioned earlier that I want to come back to of testing your work. Yeah. Yeah. So tell us another story about how, you know, being in that process with the client and testing it to know that, yes, the result is in motion.
Well, I test them while they're here, but then the most important question is, how will you know it's gone? And I really make a big thing on that. How will you know this is gone? There's a client who I helped recently. I put on this video as well. So it's before and after the process. And it was the fear of flying. So how do you know that fear of flying's gone? Well, I have to go on a plane and test it. I said, no, you won't, because you're such a good hypnotic subject with your eyes open. This is all eyes open work.
Yeah.
I said, imagine your husband came through with the 2 tickets now to go to Las Vegas. How do you feel? Oh, I can't go. I said, you're not on a plane right now. Okay. So after the process, quick thing. How do you feel now about going to Vegas? I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait. It's really exciting. Notice the difference. Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, it's easy when I see people. I give an analogy that when people are sat in the chair, they're the last people who notice they've changed. People notice they change before they do, which is really bizarre. In a few people, in 50% of the cases, I see. And so I put that as a prerequisite as well. People will notice a change in you. When they notice a change in you, not when I say it, not when you feel in that chair, but suddenly it will compound the changes that have already taken place.
Give us that one more time. That's good.
Okay. So when people notice the change in you, I say to them, okay, it's okay, you changing. I know you feel quite good about this now too. And I feel quite good. Do you feel quite good? And I'm not saying you feel quite good, because you tell me, because I always gauge things on a scale from 1 to 10, the SUD scale, significant units of distress. Where are you now? And where, you know, what's it like now? And they go, oh, feels good. And try to get the old thing back. They can't get it back. I said, I know you feel good about this, and we'll test it until the cows come home, or get them to convince me it's gone. There's another cool way to do it. And are you sure it's gone? Because you had that like about 2 minutes ago. Oh, yeah. Go and try and get it back how it was, you know. But like I said to you before, I re-say that line again. When people notice the change in you, it will compound the changes that have already taken place.
Nice.
So when their partner says, oh, you look something different. And I also say, like with mothers with kids as well. And this is one thing I found, because I work with children, I work with parents and all that sort of stuff. 10 to 80, I call it. And the children notice first and the mothers change. And I say, like, because I've seen it from my eyes. This woman she came here once. She said, I'm a really bad mother. I said, well, how are you doing that then? She goes, well, I've got 3 kids. One's about 1, one's 2, one's 5. And I said, well, really? And what about your husband? You haven't spoken about him. Well, he goes to work and he comes back about once a month. And I said, you're a bad mother. No, I don't think so. If you're a bad mother, you'd be in the pub, you'd be drinking, perhaps you'd be, getting other people to look after those kids. You already told me already that you wouldn't let anyone at those kids out of your own sight. So where's the truth in that? But she wouldn't buy into that anyway. So we let go of all that stuff, the timeline therapy, did that. And I said to her, strangely enough, I said, when children, and she was on her own all day with these children, 1, 5, and 6 or whatever it was. And she was saying, my little daughter, I don't think she likes me. I thought she's going a bit stir crazy type thing, it's her own daughter. It was like the belief she sort of made on that, because she was like daddy's little girl type thing. And she never spoke to this girl. She never spoke to the father. And after the process, timeline therapy, I think we did with her in parts, she sent me a text and she said, my little girl, for the first time, spoke. And she said, Mum. And she said she wanted Huggies. And she cried. And it was in the text. And I thought, this is amazing, But strangely enough, children sort of notice the parents change first. And I did mention that to her. And I mentioned it to other people afterwards, because I think maybe kids haven't got that sort of thing, but they pick up on vibes, let's say, of the person. If someone feels uncomfortable, they pick up on that vibe, and they're sort of attracted. People feel quite good about themselves, and they just know when people aren't, and that's what I think what happened. And now she feels good about herself. All the child's all over and doesn't give a hoot about when the dad comes home, because mummy is the one now, Isn't that weird? Does that answer your question? I can't.
No, it does. It does. Yeah. And it's that in the testing phase, we'd often put the expectation of they have to go through the entire experience to get the feedback, which, yes, that is absolutely a vital case. I'd share a quick story that I used to be very active with the local Chamber of Commerce, and here was a guy who cornered me at a meeting in a very, very loud way to go, hey, I've got a fear of fear of flying. Can you help me with that? He had just been promoted by his company and needed to fly more frequently. So we got together, we worked on that, and he's feeling great. I'm actually looking forward to it now. I was actually looking at things to do on the trip rather than just, sort of buckle down and realize it's going to suck for 2 hours on the plane. Because I'm actually now planning what I'm going to do on the plane. And since we worked together, he got promoted again. And the new position on top of the other new position now no longer required travel. So it was about a year or so. And the only reason the story's funny is that I kept running into this guy who liked to boast, Jason got rid of my fear of flying so well, I haven't even had to fly. And I'm legitimately sending him an email one day or a phone call to go, hey, I had booked travel for the NGH convention. And hey, I just booked travel to Boston and back. Can you believe it? Round trip was $88. And he actually goes, what are you getting at? I go, just get on the plane. He goes, I feel great about it. I'm like, I know, but you're the guy who keeps telling the story that Jason got rid of my fear of flying so well, I haven't even had to fly. Dude, take yourself out to dinner. And eventually he takes a trip on his own. But it's where, again, you find this experience where just in the expectation, they're feeling better. And I love the way that you're harnessing that in terms of bringing that validation. It's this method of, I say, highlighting the change before the change is even in place.
Yeah. I mean, when clients see other people change as well, oh, my friend recommended me. I mean, I think when your questions thinking back was, how do you get clients and stuff? Well, I was actually just doing some accounts the other day, and 60% are referrals and 40% are maybe adverts I put out there, the occasional Facebook thing. And but the good thing is referrals, they'll refer you to the cows come home type scenario. Because I usually do keep in contact with my clients, and I'll send them the odd text, how's it going, that sort of thing. And it's free, because I want to know how they generally do after they see me, because I generally care. Okay, the money's great, but I do generally care about my clients, which I think comes across. And people tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and the daughters. And one time I've seen the whole family. It's crazy. This mother comes through, and she says, "This is a good analogy I use as well." She goes, she comes through. I want more confidence. I say, but you look quite confident. Oh, so you're wearing a mask, yeah? And I show them this little quick demo. That was from Jamie Smart, how people wear masks. I don't know if you're familiar with that, the diamond thing.
Familiar with his work, but not that specifically. Yeah,
well, basically, I say to clients, I say, well, normally in life, there's you're born, you're authentic, you like yourself. But then what happens is crap happens. I make it as basic as possible, and it goes on that diamond. So it dulls the diamond. You're not so bright or shiny as what you were before. You either buy into your stuff somewhere online, someone said, you're not good enough for that sort of thing, or you either water that thought, or you can sort of kill it with a DDT and pull it out. But some people sort of water it. They don't even think about it, but sometimes something comes up and they make meaning on stuff. And then they've got this internal conflict, and one part of them doesn't feel good enough because they're actually putting on this fake smile. Well, they want to be authentic, so it's like a push or pull. Does that sound like you? And she goes, yes. How did you know? And so I'm sort of speaking her language, because I knew it is when they usually wear that mask thing. That's normally the case. Not all the times, but sometimes. And then after you let go of that garbage, the crap, you can become back your authentic self again. But I show them like a little diagram. There's like a little diagram I use, and when people see it visually, they get it. Then she was so enthralled, and we did timeline for her. And she said, when I came here, I felt like I had like baseball shoulders, as baseball players wear. And but every time I did that thing, but it was the anger, I went, it got lighter, the sadness, the fear, the hurt, the guilt. And she never believes. My husband's waiting in the car. I want to bring him in too, but he's a bit more skeptical. He's very skeptical. Well, he just was even more pro me than her. So I saw him as well. Then he said, my daughter, now she should really come and see you. So I saw her, and it's like she had this thing whereby she feels skinny at parties and stuff like that, and everyone's staring at her, and she's really panicking about her exams. Highly intelligent girl, but worries. And saw her for 3 sessions. Yep, she's fine. And she said to me, my brother, now I don't think he'll come and see you because he's really sorted. Me, my mum and dad, we get a bit grumpy sometimes, but he's always so hyper and happy, I don't think he'll come and see you. Anyway, when he saw how well the other 3 were, his mother said he wants to come and see you too. So that was the whole family type thing.
Yeah, I love it.
Good.
I love it.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up here, I want to ask you a question just to hit some of the business side, because especially that talking about 60% of your clients are coming in by referral. And I'm sure the easy answer is just to do exceptionally good work. Yet, is there anything that you're doing on top of that to encourage these referrals, to motivate these referrals?
There's no money, not really. There's no incentive for them to do it. I think I give a lot. That's what it is. They don't feel like they're a number. I treat the client like the client. Basically, I treat them like a human being. I'm not up there and they're down there. I'm on the same level. That works well. But I go the extra mile. I like to under-deliver. Was that all? Likely.
Under-promise, over-deliver.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I do. I send them things after, even I'll send them little things, little things that will help them through statements and stuff to keep them boosted up. And strangely enough, when I send that text, suddenly enough, they sort of say, I was just having a down day and that made my day better or something like that. Because I trust my instinct. When you trust your instinct, your own intuition, that's when you fly, I think. Because the only thing that stops people in life is that sort of negative thought, even the hypnotherapist, So, yeah, when I trust my instinct and give them what they need, and sometimes I send a text out and it's like the right thing to say at the right time, and they go, right, yeah, this guy is nice, and they'll send your friends to you, that's all, perhaps. But also, the most important thing is doing good work, like you say. I mean, I've seen lots of hypnotherapists, and I say to them, you can do this way, you can do this way, and that way, and all that sort of jazz. And they go, oh, really? And I say, yeah, okay. But it was only dawned on me it was only like 3 months ago, you've got to be good at what you do. And by good at what you do is confident in what you do, believing what you can do, and just imagine you can't fail. That's a cool one. Yeah, imagine if all this stuff's not real and you can just leave all that garbage out and the next client's due in 30 minutes now, and I haven't got a clue what I'm going to say to him, but I know it'll go great. So you see yourself doing this thing good anyway, and it would somehow your intuition will guide you, the right thing to say. But if you've got that fear is a great motivator, but it motivates you to take courses, but it also can motivate you to say the right thing as well, just to allow that, the accelerator, I call it, off the accelerator, and just be who you are, take a deep breath in. You'll survive in the grand scheme of things, and just see yourself doing it. Trust your instinct, I would say, is one of the biggest things, your intuition. Because people learn a lot of stuff, and that when you allow yourself to relax, it's almost like when you get into peripheral vision. That's why I work with the client. I show them how to do peripheral vision as well, stare at the walls and take a deep breath in. Now try to get your garbage back to how it was. Well, I can't, because they're getting out of their own way. It's almost like a living metaphor how they're doing this stuff. Because when they have that problem, that anxiety, that fear, they're actually in tunnel vision. If you can see your walls, try to get back to how it was and take a deep breath. And they go, I see what you mean now. No, well, I mean, it doesn't work all the time, but something will stick,
Yeah. The peripheral vision one, there's a little twist on that I've been using recently, which is almost describing the difference in lighting, that from a fluorescent lit room, which is very, bland, everything is lit with the same quality of light, to the pinpoint spotlight, which is now shining directly on just one specific thing. And it's that little bit of a transition to do the reverse of what I just talked about. So imagine that moment. Now we're just shining a spotlight directly on that thing that's giving you fill in the blank, whatever the issue is. But now imagine someone hits a light switch and now everything is lit the same way. So even to go back to the example of, watching the scary movie, that here's this scene that they're lighting and this entire crew of technicians and director and actors are putting on this moment, and the lighting is hitting it in such a way. But now imagine someone lean into a light switch and now everything is lit in the same way and you see every detail of it. And then you laugh at it because it's fake. Just a little twist on that peripheral vision. Derek, this has been awesome. Where can people find out more about you online?
DCMindcoach.com. Easy web address. So Derek Chapman, DC Mindcoach, Delta Charlie, mind as in mind, coach.com.
As when you were first emailing me, I'm going, I didn't know this guy was local, because DC, Washington, D.C. And give us a...
That was the plan, actually. I was going to move to DC at one stage. That's why it's going to be DC Mind Coach, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Nice little ambiguity, which works out either way. And where can people learn more about the Anxiety Wheel?
On the actual website, they go to the shop thing. They can purchase it there. I mean, it's on special at the moment, 29 English pounds going up to 49 pretty soon. But it's good. I mean, a lot of hypnotherapists are actually buying that. Like when I first did this call today, you said to me, how's the Anxiety Wheel going? I said, really good. Most of the people are buying a hypnotherapist, which I find quite surprising. So now there is another course coming out for hypnotherapists, and it's going to be in 6 weeks' time. And there's a technique I've developed called the Russian dolls, which is I use it on myself because at the moment this is like a true life thing, how to get out of your own garbage, but show clients how to do it as well. So I use it myself. At the moment I'm going through some really challenging times with my parents, and my dad's got dementia and my mother's his carer, and she's actually in DC at the moment, in Washington, DC, and she just had a stroke like 7 days ago. Now she's his main carer. She's in the hospital. My sister's looking after her and stuff like that. So it's really harsh, but how I cope with that is I use this technique on myself, and it really gets you out your own way, and that's one of the things I'll be sharing with people, and that'll be available in 6 weeks' time. There'll be a course coming out as well for hypnotherapists. Everything I've learned, I've done the package in this one course, how to get timeline therapy to work well for you, how to do parts integration with that little twist as well, and all the things I use with the client in a consultation that makes it go the way you want it to go, and dealing with tricky clients as well. Also, just when you mentioned that scary movie thing, one question I ask my clients, can you watch scary movies? And the ones that say, oh, no, I can't. And I say to them, can you watch the making of a scary movie? And they say, oh, no, I can't. Now you know you've got a tricky client.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can still work with them too. Because the same woman who said that, I said, she said, when I leave my house, I got to touch 175 objects. And I said, okay, before you come and see me, I want you to narrow those 175 objects down to 3. What's your favorite ones? Back door, front door, and window. I said, well, do that. She came back for the first session. I said, well, how many of those things did you touch? And she said, none. And my head didn't fall off. There you go. Cool. No hypnosis needed. Dehypnotizing clients is what I call it.
Jason Linett here once again, and as always, thank you so much for interacting with this program, for sharing it on your social media streams, for leaving your feedback over on iTunes and Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, and everywhere else that this podcast is available. Once again, check out Derek's program, The Anxiety Wheel, by going to dcmindcoach.com, as well as checking out hypnoticworkers.com. It's the all-access pass to my hypnotherapy training library, more than 90 hours of training content and an ever-growing library, and you're able to get access for just $47. Or if you want the hands-on live experience, join me live in the room. Head over to worksmarthypnosislive.com. That's where you can find all the details of my upcoming trainings. That's at worksmarthypnosislive.com. It's Jason Linett. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast at worksmarthypnosis.com.
Hey there, it's Jason, and I want you to be one of the first to find out as we upload amazing new content. So do this right now. Click the subscribe button right here on this video. That's going to link you to our YouTube channel here, and you will be the first to find out as new resources and downloads are made available. Do it now.